it's clear to everyone at the club that Gianluca Scamacca is perhaps not as happy at West Ham United as we would have liked. And now reports are flooding in that supposedly he's been going to go to Roma on loan because obviously Tammy Abraham has just torn his ACL and Roma without a striker. Now, obviously, Italy is his home nation. It's where he played his football before he moved to West Ham United for a £35 million fee. I'm just so sick of this, to be honest. Around this time last year, I was so excited to get Scamacca at the club. I thought he was going to be a really top talent. I thought finally David Moyes has found his man. After having numerous strikers be sold, and especially players like Haller, who, yeah, look, he didn't play amazingly at West Ham United, and maybe it was the right choice to sell him, but he's a top talent, and you can't argue with that. The things that he's done at Borussia Dortmund, the way he's been able to come back from his horrendous injury or illness, I think he's an absolute just world-class player. And we let him go. We let him go for a minuscule fee. And now it's been reported that Scamacca is going to Roma on loan. One part of me maybe thinks to myself, look, if he goes there on loan, maybe he'll come back a better player. But there's no point in it. If he goes to Roma, if he goes back to Italy and ends up playing really, really good football there, then we're just going to sell him to him. Then we're just going to sell him to Roma. There's no question about it. It's not the kind of loan where, he needs to get used to England. He needs to start playing for England. He's already played in Italy. We know he can play in Italy. We know the levels he can get to in Italy. There's no real point in loaning him off to Roma. We might as well just start him in the Premier League or loan him to a Premier League side. Or it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's really, really bad business. And all we're going to do is go out and buy another striker who, again, probably won't fit the system and probably will get sold on in a few years' time. I just think this is so stupid. It's such a horrendous business model from West Ham. And it's the same thing now and every time. Why are we loaning him out to Roma? It makes literally no sense. Even if it's an obligation to buy for them, we should not be selling Scamacca. We've given him half a season. He was injured towards the end of the season, and Mikel Antonio was the preferred choice. Why on earth are we not saying to ourselves, look, it's a brand new season? I mean, look how long it took Lucas Paqueta to settle into the league. We knew what he was capable of, and it took him, I would say, about half a season before he was playing week in, week out, and you thought to yourself, do you know what? This guy's different gravy. This guy is brilliant, and he's now probably one of the first names on the team sheet. We haven't given Scamacca that same chance, and he's scored a lot of goals for us when he's played. He's looked a really good player, and I actually think for this counter-attacking system, he could be really good as look at what Harry Kane does for Spurs when they played in the counter-attacking system. The way he dropped deep, Scamacca's passing range is unreal from a striker. I think if he was to drop backwards, and bring in like Bowen and bring in Ben Rama, Antonio said on a podcast that he's not a fighter. He doesn't fight for the ball. Now, a lot of people are criticising for that. I actually don't think it was that bad of a comment. I think obviously what he means is as Antonio does, if I want the ball in a David Moyes side, I've got to work hard. I've got to fight for the ball, got to chase after the ball a lot. I don't get the ball at my feet. And obviously that's the kind of striker Scamacca is. He needs to get the ball to his feet so he can feed it to the wingers or have a shot or do what he's going to do. So I don't think he meant it is in terms of like Scamacca doesn't work hard or Scamacca doesn't do this or that. I think it was more in the terms of he just doesn't suit the system, and he doesn't. But we can adapt the system and adapt him to suit it. I just don't understand why we're trying to offload him. It literally makes no sense to me. We've given him half a season, and truth be told, we'll probably only get around 20 million for him, maybe 25 if we're lucky. We're definitely not going to recoup the 35 million. And post that, unless there's some deal in place to where, if Scamacca does well in Roma and does well for us in Italy, then we'll allow you Tammy Abraham when he comes back from his injury. Well, number one, an ACL injury is a horrendous injury, which can really affect a player. I mean, look at Lanzini, how badly he was injured from that sort of injury. And to be honest, he's never really looked the same player. So even if that was a conversation that was had, do we know if we're getting the same Tammy Abraham? He's already struggled in England. Is he going to struggle in England again with us? And again, Tammy Abraham is not the kind of striker necessarily that we want in this system. So, okay, maybe that's off the table. Maybe that's what the thinking is, but that doesn't really work. So we loan him to Roma for a season. Okay, we're down a striker. Also, Mikel Antonio might be leaving in the summer. Danny Ings is probably not the sort of striker that we actually want in this system. So we've got 3 strikers. We've got Scamacca, Antonio, and Ings. We're looking to loan out one. One might be leaving, and one doesn't really suit the system. So essentially, despite the fact we've got 3 strikers, we're going to be looking to sign at least 2 in the summer. Now, I don't see the point in that. I really don't. If you don't think Scamacca's good enough, fair enough. He could be the understudy for a year. There's no point loaning him off to Roma. We know what he can do in the Italian leagues. He's done it already. It's half the reason we bloody signed him. So we're not sending him off there so that he can get back to loving football and start playing, getting a run of games. He's not an academy player, for Christ's sake. The reason we're loaning him off to Roma, or why they even want him, is because they want to facilitate the fact that Tammy Abraham's been injured. But when he comes back to the club, in a year's time, surely he's just going to say, well, I just want to leave, don't I? Because I've hated it in England. You haven't given me a proper shout. And I've played in Italy and I've done amazing in Italy. And if he does poor in Italy, then there's nothing, making us think there and say, oh, well, we want to keep him on at the club. So it's a lose-lose, because if he does well in Italy, he's going to want to leave in the summer. And if he does crap in Italy, we're going to want to offload him in the next summer. So that, for me, is just stupid business. It's just really stupid business. Either sell him now to the Italian leagues if you don't want him, or keep him on. A loan makes 0 sense to me whatsoever. Unless it's for some deal for Tammy Abraham in the future, like, oh, if you loan a Scamacca now, in the future we'll give you Tammy Abraham. Like I just said, there's no telling how he's going to be after his injury. There's no telling how much they make us pay for him. A loan makes absolutely 0 sense. It's stupid business. It's horrendous business. It's the same last year when we loaned out Vlasic. He's now come back to the club. It's the same thing. He played really well in Italy, so are we going to want to keep him on? No, he's probably going to go to Italy and stay on at Torino. If he played poor in Italy, well, then we would offload him anyway. That, for me, makes no sense. Loans are a great thing for, young players. Like Flynn Downs might settle for a loan. I don't want him to get loaned out, but he might do well for a loan. Ollie Scholes, Mibama, these young players, they would do well for a loan. Or if you just want to offload someone's wages for a year, that's a good way to do it. But with Scamacca, you either sell him now or you keep him on. You don't loan him. It makes 0 sense. And it's so fucking frustrating. So frustrating, because it's the same thing over and over again. We get this talent that we just know is so good, and we know could be so good for us, and we don't give him the chance. I'd love to see Vlasic get back at his West Ham side potentially this season, but it's like he's already gone. And to be honest, it's probably best if he does. Same with Scamacca. I'm desperate for Scamacca to stay on as this striker. I was so excited when he signed, and don't get me wrong, there's other strikers out there that I'd be interested in. Armando Broja, I'd still like to maybe see in that system. But Mikel Antonio is 33 years of age. He's more interested in social media and podcasts at the moment than maybe he is in his football, you could argue. He's getting to the end of his career. Like, don't get me wrong, he gives absolutely everything for this football club. But there's part of his mind that's not necessarily on the football, going on these podcasts and saying these things that people would argue are, crazy and outlandish and whatever. He's got that mind. He's thinking about the end of his career. He's maybe got 1 or 2 years left in him. And don't get me wrong, he's a club legend. I love him. But maybe even in the summer, now is the time for him to go. And Danny Ings, I don't think he's really suited to the club. So why are we selling Scamacca? What's the point in selling Scamacca? He's literally just going to be a Haller Mark II. We're going to sell him off to some side like Roma, and he's going to absolutely bang in the goals for Roma and do well at Roma. Then he's going to stay at Roma. And it just makes no sense. If we're willing to invest £35 million in him, why are we giving him not even a full season? It's just horrendous business for me. And, at least if we are going to sell him to Roma, get some money for it. The loan makes no sense. It's literally a lose-lose. And it just really annoys me, because I just think we've got such a talented, good player here. We're going to be desperate for a striker in the summer, and we're literally just shooting ourselves in the foot again. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Scamacca should stay on at West Ham United? Do you want to see him offload in the summer? And what sort of transfer fee do you think we should be looking for? And I'll see you in the next one.